he went home and milked cows. He used to have cow.
Really?
Yeah. The family, and he had two sons, both great guys. One of them was killed in the war.
Yep.
I think was same time that Everett Allen boy was killed in that oil.
I had the older one, Irving Jr., for 1 year at Prouty.
Yeah, he came back to teach.
Yeah, right after he got out of the service.
And of
yeah.
course, we'd been together, our families had chummed together for all these years, and all of a sudden I had Irving for a teacher. That was a very strange thing.
I don't remember what he taught, but I did have.
He taught a course in law and a course in stocks that and I don't know what else.
I don't know, I never had it.
Well, why I was taking law and stocks, I do not understand.
Did he become superintendent of schools at Shrewsbury?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. I, not too, right before Ed McDonough died, though, I wonder how many people are aware of this. When I take my walk, he'd always come over and talk, and what a memory he had. He'd say, let's see, you were 48, weren't you? Do you remember when Jeanette Durant and Jeanette Jiwa and Eddie DeLongchamp would sing a song, I don't remember what it was, and, or do you remember when so-and-so did this in your class? He was remarkable, but did you know that he lived in Massasoit for 2 years?
No.
When his wife died.
He came here in no.
Oh, that's
He
right
came from
before,
Maine
yeah.
in 1927, and he lived in the Massasoit until he got married the first time. He lived there for 2 years.
No. He was a nice teacher.
He was another gem, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
he was, yeah.
He used to come to the class reunions all the time.
Uh,
And it's true, he remembered everything,
Yeah,
didn't
he
he?
did.
You
Yeah,
know,
he did.
some things you just, he didn't remember.
Yeah.
And Miss Carter was pretty.
She got me through math because I would stay after school until, she literally found my head.
Very lenient, though. She was no disciplinarian. She
No.
could get away with,
They,
She was the one that we had to learn in Gettysburg Address and in Flanders Fields for Memorial Day. Remember, she was the one that you had, and you had to do it too.
well, I am not very proud of this, but I remember taking algebra in Miss Goddard's
yeah.
freshman year and getting not knowing an answer to a test question, getting up, walking down the aisle, standing there and copying down Richard Standish's answer, going and sitting back down, and she gave me 100. Now that isn't being much of a disciplinarian.
I remember when she started to teach Spanish,
Yeah.
Yeah, I had
and she was only a page ahead of us because she had never taught.
Time the first day of class, he said, I'm going to learn Spanish with you. I don't know any more than you do.
And we learned to sing La Paloma.
When I went to school, we had the French classes up there, and the teacher couldn't understand why some kids were so good in French and other kids in the class couldn't pick up on it at all. Then she found out they were coming out of the French Catholic school up on the hill, and they'd been speaking French in their homes for 10 years.
Yeah.
You couldn't put them in with people that couldn't speak any French and expect them to be equal.
Well, you know, when we were growing up, not so much to do with school, I guess all of us remember there was as much French spoken on the street
Right.
as there is English today. And I wonder how many of the generation of today that are descendants or grandchildren of these people can speak French. I bet not very
Not
many.
many.
Not
Not
many.
many.
No, it's a shame, and
Yeah.
some of them will say that they dropped it, and their children just do not speak French. And as a matter of fact, they have lost it themselves. You know, they find it very hard to lapse into French now.
What was the poem that some teacher taught you when you repeated it to Corey on
Well,
Ransom?
that was already in high school.
Okay.
Julius Caesar, French, Romans, countrymen. I thought I'd sort of shock my grandson that was pretty proud of something he was memorizing, but
We all have the quality of mercy, not strain.
that's right.
That's all I'm gonna do.
No, Marty said the whole thing, Cory was really shocked.
Patricia Huguenot, from somebody on the other side of the
I got
Atlantic,
schools in Wales.
from over the big pond. What do you think of the American school system, the way you hear it? The way it was compared to the way it was in Wales?
The only thing I think was better is girls were separate from the boys, always. We never had a mixed class. And I think the girls done better because they weren't trying to impress the boys.
But it was much more fun that way.
Well, no, we had the fun when we got out.
But it was fun because most of the girls would just sit in class and pay attention. And the guys would all put in their humor, you know. So we would laugh, but we wouldn't dare do what they were doing. But it was fun, just the same, you know, to listen to them.
And the other thing was, we all wore uniforms, and they still do today in the same school.
That would be nice if
It
we
would be
did that.
very
yeah.
nice, and I think it would solve a lot of problems
It
in
would.
the school. Definitely. They're still doing it now. But you said about the one thing you remembered about school. This isn't funny. A bomb dropped on a big cathedral near my home and near our school. And it's the oldest cathedral in Wales, so there was graves there that might have been about 1,000-year-old. And the bones and the headstones, and we got a day off from school because we had to go around with sacks collecting them. It was funny in one sense,
Yeah.
but it really wasn't when we thought of it as we grew up. But at the time, we were finding these bones. I remember there was a tombstone in my father's garden, so he had to lug it over to the cathedral on a wheelbarrow. So. But that's one thing I remember.
Yeah.
I remember getting out of school to collect apples, but not bones. Remember when the hurricane was coming?
Yep.
And we got sent over to Brookfield Lodge?
Yep, yep. Yep.
Had to go pick apples. You must have had to go too.
What?
To go pick apples when the hurricane came.
No, I was too young. I never picked apples at Brookfield Orchard until I was 35 years old. And then I had the pleasure one day of, first time I ever picked, I was out of work. Of course, I knew the bookkeeper at Brookfield Orchard, so she got me a job. And it was early in the season, and Hammy Lincoln, that owned the orchard at the time, didn't want to bring in any other pickers, so we had Damon Morris, who remembers Damon Morris, and myself go out and pick the early apples. It was my first experience. Pitched a bucket to the front of me, and I climbed the ladder. I got right up at the top of the tree, and I realized I couldn't move up or down the tree. And I said, Damon, I don't know what the problem is, but I'm stuck up here. Well, Damon smoked a corncob pipe. He also stuttered very badly. I could smell the pipe as he came down the ladder. He wasn't moving very fast, and he walked around the tree. I could smell the tobacco getting closer and closer, and he looked up and he says, ain't no damn crisis up there. Just a leaf going at branch and hang on to it and start down the tree. So that was my experience as an apple gardening.
And you're still afraid of heights.
I can relate to that.
Yes. But we had fun when they sent us out. It was wet and we came back miserable.
You got out of school to go pick apples?
They sent us, they put us on a bus and we went and picked apples. It was like we would be sent out of school. Remember Curlin had a truck?
Yeah.
And they had a truck, and he and Sid Rosenstein had trucks, and we used to go and collect papers
I remember
and tin
collecting
cans
papers, yeah.
and stuff like that for the
You
wall.
remember all the iron
Yeah.
stacked up right in the shop parking
Yeah,
lot?
but we'd get out of school to do that too.
I don't remember getting out of school to do it, because I was young.
Oh, listen to him.
2 years.
We were just amazed to ride. We were
And you
just.
remember collecting the paper and putting it in your wagon, bringing it to Tower Box, and you get like 2 or 3 cents a pound.
Well, we didn't get any cents a pound, we just
Oh, I did.
got dirty.
Have to bundle it up, and tie it up, and bring it up to Tower Box.
When you worked with the cans, they were crummy, you know, they were really messy, and you had to stack those up. Remember stamping on them?
And sell bacon grease to the supermarket, well, not
To the
supermarket,
Ranger.
but old supermarket.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess they made nitroglycerin with that or something.
I believe so.
They told us they made something, and we were supposed to save it, we knew that.
They used to have days when they had iron collection and aluminum collection.
Yeah.
People would lend their trucks and let us out of school. For all over town, people would have pockets of iron.
Yeah.
I remember down in Wild Village, somebody had thrown a shotgun out. And it was an old rusted iron one, but we boys were all we wanted to keep that, but you couldn't.
How long was a school day? I mean, today it's about, what, 5.5 hours? How long has it been?
We used to get out at 3:30, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
We had to go home, we had an hour to go home for lunch.
That's
Yeah,
right.
an hour for
12
lunch.
o'clock and back at 1.
Well, we used to go to Langerman's Market.
Yeah,
No, we couldn't go home.
Yeah, everybody went home for lunch.
Yeah.
We all went home.
The whistle would blow there. 7, whistle would blow at 12 and at 1 until we knew when to get back.
Yeah, if you
But I
were,
had a long walk up over the hill and back, I just about make it.
if you were still on the street when that whistle blew, you knew that things were not good. If you dipped around with on the way up.
That's why I mind when I went to junior high, because I had a hike to school, then, you know, would go home for lunch. You'd really go home, walk back, you just had time to eat and get back to school. It was a long walk. But for years, I lived right across the street from the school. You know, it was nice.
Yeah.
One teacher I never will forget was the French teacher, Mr.
St. John.
St.
St. John. He was very emotional. I've seen him cry fast. The kids would get at it, he'd break down and cry. And, I wasn't a very good student. I didn't care much for French, and I didn't try to learn it very easily. I was doing very poorly in it. He wrote on the blackboard one time a sentence with a question mark, kind of upside down. Anyway, I noticed the only thing I ever knew in the French language was he put one word out of place. And I said, I cut him. I said, Mr. St. John, Mr. St. John. I said, what do you want me? I said, well, that sentence you said, wrote it right. He looked at me, he done it purposely. He looked at me and said, Eureka! You saved the light. He was almost.
He had to have been the finest skater, ice skater I had ever seen, though.
He was?
Oh, I can remember him from Muzzy Meadow. He was a figure skater.
And he always wore the beret.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he was so thin that, talk about cutting a nice figure, it was him.
That was John Lambert's father.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He had an apple orchard there, and he used to bring apples to school and sell them 5 cents a piece.
Yep.
They're underpaid then, too.
His grandfather.
Probably threw it back at him, I don't know.
Do you have any one teacher that stands out in your mind?
No. Well, my favorite
For
teacher.
good or bad?
My favorite teacher was Miss Madden. I always have a soft spot in my heart for her. She was always always so nice to me. I just liked her very much.
She'd be easy to have her be your favorite, too. You know, such a nice person.
Yeah, she was.
Marty? Favorite teacher?
Oh, I had many. I liked Miss McQuaid, certainly. Rita Kelly was a wonderful teacher. I always had a love for history, so of course Roger Dickinson
Oh, yeah.
was my beat too.
Yeah.
You know, I thought he was a great
Yeah.
teacher. In fact, never had much of a college experience, but I always figured that Roger Dickinson could have been a good college level teacher too. But I thought he was one of the best. Miriam Kelly, I liked her, you know, the primary grades. A lot of good ones. Probably had a lot of good ones. We went to a good school, and I think we still have a good school in the town.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
think so.
Mary?
Miss Breen,
Says who?
Miss Breen.
Green.
I never had her, I remember her.
In our junior high. And Miss Ahern, I don't know why, those two always,
Oh, Mr. Hearn, yeah.
Yeah, I had her in the 8th grade.
she had me for, we had her for literature, didn't we?
She
And
taught
then-
math, I know that.
Yes,
yeah.
I had her for literature, and then I had her for math, and the poor woman, what a cross to bear. Because I always liked literature and anything written and, you know, did well, and math was not a good thing. So the poor woman, she'd say...
She must have also taught you, oh, excuse me.
She would just say to me,
Yeah.
where did you leave your brains when you come to math class? Go look for them.
Well, she must have also taught geography, which makes me
Yes.
think that is once, and I was very serious. When she wanted to know what the principal crop of Italy was, I raised my hand. Funny how you remember little things like that, and I said spaghetti. Yeah. And I was serious at the time, and I think she laid me out, you know, started screaming at me when I did that.
Yeah, I mean, she did civics and spelling and literature, and then math when she had to. I don't know what, I think she took it in the middle of the year or something again, but I mean, the poor soul, when she got me for that, she was...
Dorothy?
I went to school in Worcester, of
That's
course.
fine, you must have a teacher
Oh,
or a
Miss Mc-
story.
Yeah,
What's
Miss
the school? You have to go someplace, so if you went to
Yes.
Worcester, it's okay.
That's right. I think that the fourth grade teacher, Miss Griffin, was a peach. I can remember the seventh grade, Miss McQueenie was also, but I can also remember when we had a substitute, all hell broke loose because all of a sudden all the rulers would fall on the floor, and one substitute teacher was crying her heart out and fainted. That's it.
What school did you go to?
Belmont Street. And now, when I look around, I lived in on Linwood Street, which had a beautiful yard, all kinds of apple and pear trees, is gone with the Route 290. The school I went to, Belmont Street School, is gone with the 290. The high school I went to is gone. You know,
High school is
it's
that?
Commerce. It's no longer a school. I think the building's still there. And it's really kind of sad, you know, because Marty has written, as I'm sure everyone knows, this history of Spencer. And I go back and, not forgetting the fact that I don't remember the way he does, my whole history is gone. That's that.
That's the beauty of living in a town. It really is. You know, you live in a town and it stays more or less the same. I mean, things change, but you have the same people, and, you know, you've known
Same
from
families, absolutely.
grade school.
Well, we had a grammar school reunion a couple of years ago. It was a 1946 grammar school reunion, and that was a lot of fun. Kenny Wheeler went. I'm sure everyone knows Ken. And he used to live next door to my dad's grocery store. So we pretty friendly in those days, and it's nice to have him in Spencer now also. I went to the girls' club with Joanne Beard.
You know,
Joan Beard, I'm sorry.
it doesn't change an awful lot, but the last sentence of the I wrote about, who would have ever thought that Spencer would have 2 Dunkin' Donuts, 2 Chinese restaurants, and a McDonald's?
Have you written another book? Another chapter, so to speak?
Well, I wrote 3. I wrote from 1932, when my family arrived in Spencer, to 1951. Then I figured I'd finish it, the next segment, but you can see I'm long-winded. So the next segment is 1951 to 1964. And then last Labor Day, I wanted to finish on Labor Day for a reason that I'll relate now, is Labor Day 2002, was 70 years to the day when my parents arrived in Spencer. I was a year old at the time, and so it actually covers 70 years in 3 books.
But he is, to answer your question, I don't think he quite understood what it meant. He is writing more,
Yeah.
but it's more the businesses, for example, up and down Mechanic Street and Main Street and things like that. And
And then another one called People. Many of them, Spencer people, most of them all, unfortunately, now all closed. The only one that I've got, and so far, it's about done Dick Browdy still. And people like Jimmy Brogan and all that.
you know, you think that Spencer hasn't changed, but in the future, when we talk, I mentioned that my school is gone and so forth, but there's also going to be children saying, well, my David Prouty Junior High is now,
Yeah.
or Pleasant Street School is now condos.
Yes.
I do wish that they would make condos out of some of those schools. Maddie and I went on a tour a few years ago in Worcester of some of the buildings, and they are absolutely gorgeous, what they've done to them.
The old
It would be
To
a
the
shame
old
to tear them down.
It would be a shame to tear them down, but it's a shame to see them with the
Sitting over
paint getting worse and worse on the doors. I go down High Street every day and see the Pleasant Street School getting worse and worse.
Joe, wouldn't you just like to go out and trim the branches away from it and, you know, just spruce it up a bit?
Yeah.
Because, and it was such a beautiful place. When you came down High Street especially, and you looked at that, it was such a gem.
lot of nice memories, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, it was just a gem of a building, and they ruined it, and it's a shame that it can't be used, and people enjoy it again.
I guess it all adds up to one thing, money.
That's right.
Or ingenuity,
Well,
What's that?
ingenuity.
Oh,
Somebody,
sure.
Well, as you said, it's memories, and that's what we're doing up here tonight. I want to thank Dorothy and Marty Sivan, Richard Green, Mary Baker, Louise Ramsey, Pat Brugenau, David Bain from the Historical Society. Thank you very much. Good night.
Mary's lap is sleeping, whom angels greet with anthem sweet, while shepherds watch our King.